All right, in this video, we're going to see Republican Congressman Tim Burchett. He sits down for an interview to talk about what should be a really serious bipartisan issue, the release of the Epstein files. Now, you would think, maybe hope this would be a straightforward talk about transparency and justice. But, I mean, we are dealing with a MAGA Republican here, so you can probably guess how this is going to go. We're going to see a man who, he starts off with this pretense of being serious, but he'll almost immediately get rattled and just completely fall apart. The whole thing turns into this unhinged partisan rant, just filled with these baseless conspiracy theories. You should really watch for that moment. His brain seems to completely short circuit, and he pivots from a nonpartisan issue to just, blaming Democrats for everything, even things that make absolutely zero sense. As usual, let's watch the video in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman. So Attorney General Bondi asked the federal judge to release grand jury testimony from the Epstein case. But as you know, that's only a fraction of the so-called Epstein files and evidence amassed as a result of the investigation. You've co-sponsored legislation with your colleague Thomas Massie to release all of the Epstein files. So I can't imagine you're content with this small, discrete grand jury information being released. That's not enough, right?
I think it's a start, Jake, and thank you for your fair reporting on this up to this point. I think Senator Klobuchar, as she likes to say, as a former prosecutor, where the heck was she the last 4 years? Dick Durbin, and you're correct, he did effectively try to and did block my Senator Blackburn from getting those files released. And it's clear what the Democrats are up to. They're tanking. The country knows it. Their biggest candidate in the whole country, Jake, is a guy, people in New York, a guy people are accusing of a communist. And what's he say? Oh, hey, I'm not a communist. I'm a socialist. As if that's a selling point. That's what the Democrat Party has fallen into. Where the heck have they been the last 4 years? I'm ticked off at everybody. Look. This thing should have been handled. Now we're at the point they're going to start dumping files. And my biggest fear in this, Jake, you got 1,000 children that were abused by this dirtbag who's burning in hell right now, and he should be. And yet the American public's all pointing the finger, trying to play politics with this thing, and it's not accurate. I applaud the president for wanting to release those files. I think it's a good start. I think we, they keep saying he talked about it repeatedly, and that's just not accurate. He was asked 2 different times during the campaign about it, and he said, sure, we're going to release them. He also said he's going to release the UFO files and the Kennedy files, and we're still working on all that because it is a dadgum process. You've got innocent people on those flight logs that flew. President Trump has admitted he flew on those flights. And dozens of other Americans, I'm sure, rode. I know a lot of wealthy people, Jake, and they fly on these dadgum planes, private planes. If one's broke down, they say, hey, I got a seat on this guy's plane. Can you want to ride with us to New York? And that's what happens. And so I caution America, though, if we need to have some sort of way to filter out the innocence in these things. Yeah. And for Dick Durbin to start making his point now, I think that you all in the media should bust his tail for that, because that is very disingenuous, and that is clearly a cover-up by the Democrat Party.
Yeah, no, without question, Senator Blackburn has been trying to get the flight logs subpoenaed and other information about the Epstein files for years. But as you note, there are people in these files who are innocent, who didn't do anything except flew on Epstein's plane, for example, in the 90s. Epstein was first, I think, arrested in 2005, 2006. So he wasn't scandalous until then. So it certainly can be understood if people, whether RFK Jr. or Bill Clinton or whoever, associated themselves with him before then. But there are also individuals in these files who weren't prosecuted but probably did commit some criminal acts. Let me just ask you about this effort to get these files released. As of right now, there are 10 Republicans, including yourself, who've signed Congressman Massey's what's called a discharge petition. It forces legislation onto the floor of the House for a vote. It requires 218 signatures. Presumably, a lot of Democrats are going to support it, too. A lot of Republican leaders seem to want this issue to go away. Do you think you're going to get 218 signatures on the discharge petition to force it for a vote? And how many Republicans do you think will join you?
I have no earthly idea, Jake. You know this town buries secrets. You wrote a book about it, and it's doing very well because America agrees with you. This town buries secrets. I mean, do you honestly believe Lee Harvey Oswald shot John F. Kennedy from the front and the back, and this miraculous lead bullet that had hardly a scrape on it was found on a gurney in a hospital shortly after the president passed away? You know, this town does not give up its secrets easy, and it's fighting and kicking. And the reason I'm worried about these files now is the fact that the Biden administration, who in my opinion has a history of corruption, has tampered with these files, and we're never going to get to the bottom of it. I think stuff could have been placed in those files. Do I have proof? Well, no, I don't, but I have a gut feeling, and I have a historical reference, which is every dadgum time something like this happens in this town, it gets covered up, and it needs to stop. And I salute President Trump for pushing to move forward on those records that they have. But I do want them to be. I would like them to be filtered a little bit. I don't want the 1,000 innocents and some of those people that flew, as you mentioned earlier.
Right, but you do want more than just the grand jury testimony that he has called for. You would like more in a responsible way, but as many files as possible that can be released.
Yes, sir.
All right. Congressman Tim.
Yes, sir. And the president's, yes, sir. I agree. Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
No, go ahead. You're going to make a point. I'm sorry.
Now, I was going to say the president takes a lot of heat for what he said earlier, but, you know, Trump has an incredible strategy. They said, oh, the big, beautiful bill won't pass by July 4th. What happened? Trump worked it. It came out by July 4th. Senator Hagerty's bill on cryptocurrency, they said they wanted it to the president's desk by Friday. There was no way it was going to happen. I'm sitting in a meeting with the speaker and Whip Emmert and about 10 or 12 fellow conservatives that had problems. Trump calls, answers every one of our dadgum questions, and guess what? He signed that bill on Friday. And that, you know, he has an incredible gift at strategy and winning, and that's what he does.
So, yeah, you saw right there, didn't you? He did. He did exactly what I said he would. Jake asks a perfectly simple, direct question about legislation, and Burchett's first response is to just lash out. He launches into this completely incoherent tirade against Democrats. There was no real attempt to answer the question. It was pure, undiluted partisan rage. You know, my thesis here, my main takeaway is pretty simple, I think. For people like Tim Burchett, a topic as horrific and morally unambiguous as getting justice for Jeffrey Epstein's victims, it all just becomes another political tool. The whole performance gives you the feeling that his main goal is to push conspiracies and own the libs. His performance here is just a textbook example of the intellectual and, frankly, the moral rot you see in parts of the modern Republican Party. I mean, let's just break this down for a second. He's asked about his own legislation, and the very first thing out of his mouth is Senator Clolo Basher. Where the heck was she the last 4 years? Dick Durbin, it's clear what the Democrats are up to. They're tanking the country. And then he goes on this bizarre tangent about some New York candidate being a socialist. What on earth does any of that have to do with getting the Epstein files released? You can almost hear the frantic energy in his voice, you know? It's a complete deflection from someone who just doesn't seem serious, but it gets so much worse. I mean, wow. The most revealing and honestly the most pathetic part of the whole interview is when he starts floating his little conspiracy theory. He says, and I'm quoting him directly here, the Biden administration, who in my opinion has a history of corruption, has tampered with these files. Do I have proof? Well, no, I don't, but I have a gut feeling. Let's be 100% honest here. A sitting United States congressman is on national television. He's accusing the Department of Justice of tampering with evidence in one of the biggest sex trafficking cases in history, and his evidence is a gut feeling. And then he says he has a historical reference and immediately starts ranting about Lee Harvey Oswald and the JFK assassination. It's genuinely crazy to me. I mean, this is the level of political discourse now. You have to remember, this is an elected official we're talking about whose whole argument just boils down to, I don't have any facts, but I feel like a crime is happening. In my personal opinion, it's incredibly dangerous. This is the standard MAGA playbook, isn't it? When you have no evidence, you just invent a conspiracy and claim the deep state or the Democrats are hiding something. It completely erodes any trust in the institutions that are, fundamental to a functioning democracy. He says he wants transparency, but then he admits he wants the files filtered. He says he applauds Trump for wanting to release them, but then spends the entire interview attacking the very people he would need to work with to get it done. The hypocrisy is just, it's staggering. And that little bit at the end of the clip, it just ties it all together perfectly. He gushes about Trump's incredible gift at strategy and winning. And that right there, that's the whole game. You have to ask, where is the concern for justice in all this? Where's the concern for the truth or for the 1,000 children who were abused? For people like Burchett, the focus seems to be entirely on political winning. If that means pushing baseless conspiracies and acting like an unhinged crank on national television, then I guess so be it. It's just profoundly embarrassing. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. While you guys are down there, do me a massive favor. Hit that subscribe button and also give the video a thumbs up as well. I appreciate you guys, and as usual, I will see you guys in the next one.